Welcome to the latest edition of the LL Basketball Roundtable, brought to you by Student Transportation of America. I always have to glance down and look to make sure I got that right, but I do. I'm Mike Rose, and I'm hosting these proceedings. We're going to talk LL basketball with Jason Guarenti, who covers boys hoops, Jeffrey Reinhardt, who covers girls hoops, and we're going to kind of go through each section because the section races are kind of taking shape now. We're through the holidays and headed toward big games in the section. So I want to start with, we don't necessarily need to go in order 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go with section 2, where right now it looks like a 3-team race, and some interesting things have happened in that section since last we spoke, Jason.
Ephrata beats Mannheim Central on Friday.
That's the big
at
one.
home. So now you take Ephrata seriously. They're a threat, right? They beat one of the big two. And then you have Warwick, which is also 4-0 in the league with Ephrata, and Mannheim Central at 3-1. Warwick goes to Ephrata Friday night. So we'll find out who's in first place. I think Warwick is the most interesting team here because everyone's kind of forgotten about them. They were the preseason darlings. Their record's only so-so. They're 7-5. But they have 2 of the best 10 players in the league in Carter Horst and Caleb Johnson. They haven't lost a league game yet. And they've been through it before. A lot of these guys were on the District 3 finalist team 2 years ago as sophomores. They went to the league semifinals last year. I think Warwick's the team everyone's kind of forgotten about. They play 5 consecutive road games coming up. At Ephrata Friday, at Mannheim Central next week. So by this time next week, we'll know they'll either be in first place by themselves, they could be in third place, it'll depend how it goes. But I think everyone's kind of forgotten about them, and I think they're still one of the best teams in the LL.
Well, they scheduled up a little bit early, and it showed. They were not real good early, but then you could see this portion of the schedule that they're almost through now, where they could right the ship. And now the next, well, as you said, the next step is, but Ephrata is a story. Ephrata is really pretty good, right?
0-22 the season before Scott Gaffey takes over, and they just build toward this. They won 12 or 13 games last season they just missed districts to show that they were on the rise. And now they've won 8 of their last 9, and they're 4-0 in the league.
And Scott Gaffey is the son of Mike Gaffey, one of the great coaches in District 3 basketball history. Nice. And also the mentor, Mike is the mentor of Charlie Fisher, the Central coach.
Oh, wow.
And Mike still coaches at Mechanicsburg, which is one of the top teams in Class 5.
Yeah, and they're winning. Winning seems to follow him around.
Yes. And the well-dressed.
Yeah, the well-dressed.
He
is not given. He is not conceded.
Jacket.
Usually suspenders.
Nice.
It's a look. He puts a look together. The guy puts a look together.
Yeah,
okay, section 2.
Section 2 girls. Okay, Ephrata has the solo lead here midweek. Mountaineers took over first place last Friday. Beat Mannheim Central 26-20. There's a lot of football scores in Section 2 girls. Tuesday night, Ephrata stayed in first. They beat CB.
Now that's getting down in your stance and playing some.
Yes, 23-17 they won on Tuesday after a 26-20 game. Mannheim Central led.
Shot clock.
Well, yeah. Mannheim Central led 10-4 at halftime, and Ephrata had no points in the second quarter. They came back and won and took over sole possession of first place. Mannheim, I like the Barons. Coach Smith has 3 freshmen on the floor a good chunk of the time. They're going to be really good in a year or two, and they're in the mix right now. CB, Warwick, still right there hanging around in Section 2, but Ephrata out front, and they play Lebanon on Saturday in a really interesting non-league game. Lebanon at Ephrata. Couple of first-place teams.
If you're having trouble wrapping your mind around Ephrata as a football power, which we were in the fall, how about Ephrata as a boys and girls basketball
power? How about that? Yes.
How about that?
Ephrata's out front in Section 2.
Section 3, big game last night, please.
Octorara knocks off LS on LS's home court.
Wow.
Octorara is 12-1.
Yeah, 12-1.
Interesting.
I don't think anyone had that before the season. No. They have Zach Kirk, 4-year starter, 1,000-point scorer. That's where it starts. But they also have these role players. Jason Johnson, kind of that guy who gets all the loose balls, and Lazo Cristo, their point guard, and Shane Althouse inside. And they're just good enough to win these tough games. And I thought that race, nothing was going to get decided until 1 of 2 things happened. Either one of the bottom 5 beat LS or Octorara, which hasn't happened yet, or LS or Octorara won on the other team's home floor. And that's what happened Tuesday night. So now The road goes through Octorara. That doesn't mean they're going to win it. This just means they have the inside track right now.
Yeah.
And someone's going to have to go to At Glen and win in
Glen.
that the
There
gym
you
that
go.
time forgot with the half moon backboards and all
Enjoy
that.
that bus ride.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's a tough place to play.
It is.
The sophomore point guard allows Kirk to be off the ball,
Yeah.
which I think is a big deal.
Yeah, and Kirk he's tough to defend. Ellis did a good job on him. He still had 18 points because he'll just bulldozer to the basket,
Yeah.
and he'll draw fouls or he'll get a layup.
And he's got enough size. And he's an athlete. Yeah.
a lot of sophomores, but he's the one that kind of holds it all together.
Interesting.
Let's go to Section 3.
Section 3 girls.
What do you got?
Lancaster Catholic now atop. Shocker. Catholic is
I'm
alone
stunned.
in first
I'm
place.
sitting here and I'm stunned.
Tuesday night was the big showdown. Catholic up at Fredericksburg taking on Northern Lebanon. They were tied for first in the loss
Ostensibly.
column. Yeah, they each had 0 losses in the section going in. And Lancaster Catholic took them behind the woodshed. Wow. It was 11-10 after the first
They
quarter.
didn't even go in the woodshed. They
Woodshed.
went behind the woodshed.
I know there's something with the woodshed.
Yeah.
And Catholic then just took off. 18-0 run, put the pedal down, played defense, made threes. So Catholic snapped that tie. So they're alone in first. Northern Lebanon's still there alone in second. They have 11 wins, the Vikes, most in the league still, despite the loss to Catholic.
Most in the league.
Catholic has really found it here. I know they don't want to peak on January 10th.
Yeah, is that an issue?
They were
They
going to
really found it on January 10th.
Yeah, they were going to be good regardless.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
But that's not what we're saying.
sure. They have found it defensively. They have turned it up a notch, and we talked off camera about how this team might be playing its best defense since like the Lamar Kaufman era, and those teams were.
Well, certainly,
straight
I think
D.
the most like that style, I think.
Yes. Trap you back court, pop steals, get transition layups. That's how Catholic's playing right now, and they have 3 or 4 kids that can make threes. He's got a couple freshmen that he really likes. He's got a really good rotation going right now, and Catholic blew Northern Lebanon's doors off in Fredericksburg in a big first place game. So Elko was such a great story like 3 weeks ago. They played in Philly. They started 5-0. They're 1-6 in their last 7, so they've fallen off the pace here a little bit. But it's Catholic in charge, 74 straight section wins.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
It's pretty good.
Even by their standards.
Yep.
Section 4, Jason, take it away.
Not much going on in Section 4 yet. There's only 5 teams, so they only play 8 league games.
Oh, wow.
Northern Lebanon's dropping down next season into Section 4, which will make it a little deeper, which I think will be good. Because right now, Columbia Mennonite schedule 14 non-league games, which is
That's
a
a
ton.
lot. Yeah. That's a
And
lot.
really nothing matters until they play each other. They play January 19th at Mennonite, February 7th at Columbia. They're clearly the top 2 teams, I think.
That January 19th game at Mennonite, and Columbia's going to have to come back the next day in the Mid-Penn LL thing and play the earliest game of the
noon
5.
start.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where we are. Section 4?
Section 4 girls, Columbia out front. They were tied with Anvil Cleona. Anvil Cleona lost to Pequay Valley on Tuesday, so that knocked the Dutchman out of first. Columbia's been they're 6-2. They've only played 8 games. They had gaps of 5 days, 6 days, and 8 days in between games already. They've only played 8 games, and we're like midway
So
through
are
January.
they having trouble with the thing that Jason just mentioned? Is that the problem?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they got to play. They're going to play 22 games.
Yeah, they're going to have a bunch of games here, like in the next 4 weeks. They're
Including
gonna-
non-conference.
Including non-league.
Yeah.
And they play, glass roll please, Lancaster Catholic on Friday night. Wow, biggest non-league game around here.
Oh, okay.
of the
There's a
season.
non-league
That's
game for you. Boom.
rematch of the district final. That's Friday night at
I like it.
Catholic. Columbia's out front, but they just need more court time. I saw them play Delone Catholic last week. Delone's really good. You guys know Delone. Delone took care of Columbia pretty handily. But Columbia just needs more court time. They're going to be there. They're fine. Pequay Valley only has the 1 loss to Columbia. And Anvil is also still right there. So interesting little 3-way team race here, chasing Columbia in Section 4.
Let's go to Section 1, back to the top, to the big schools, and a wild one last night with involving the Falcons.
A crazy night where nothing changed. I mean, you're following the scores as the night goes on, right? That's what we all do. And then there's a point if you're covering a game where you can't pay attention to them anymore. And there was a point where I thought Township was going to beat Cedar Crest, McCaskey was going to beat Hempfield, and Lebanon might beat Penn Manor. They were all close.
All
late.
of those games were close.
But
yeah.
then the favorites
At one
won.
point.
The favorites won all three. Cedar Crest came back from 17 down in the fourth quarter to beat Township.
Wow.
Cedar Crest has won 6 in a row. They're 8-2. They're the consensus #1 team in the league if you ask around the coaches and what they think. Hempfield has moved into that second spot. They beat Penn Manor by 20 at home. Wow. I think that score was eye-opening to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count Penn Manor out yet. They played without Benny for a while, and they have the best teams coming to Millersville the second time through the schedule. So they still get Hempfield at home. They still get Cedar Crest at home. So even though they're a game behind Hempfield now, they're not out of it yet, and they have one of the league's best players.
Ben Troyer for Hempfield, I think 28 in that Penn Manor
Wow.
game. I mean, this guy's rolling. This guy's having a great
They're
season.
so good at playing off of him,
Yeah.
and it's just such a well-coached team, and it's just this tic-tac-toe passing, and they get wide-open shots. That was a clinic. That was a dominant performance.
It's a crusher for Township, which is itching to be in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
You know.
It was. And
Township-
they beat Warwick early.
Yeah.
It looked like they had a chance, a puncher's chance against good teams. And they did. Obviously, they did. Yeah.
They almost beat Hempfield, too.
Yeah, that's right.
The thing about Township is they're really small, so I was surprised that they were able to hang with Cedar Crest, which is a bunch of 6'5",
size.
6'6"
Yeah, they
football
got the
guys.
size, yeah.
But they almost pulled it off.
Big guy. What do you got?
Section 1 girls,
Section one.
wild and wacky.
Yeah, this is a good race. A deep section and a good race.
Three-way tie at
Yeah.
midweek. Hempfield, 1 loss. Lebanon, 1 loss. Manheim Township, 1 loss. Penn Manor threw the monkey wrench into all of this. They beat Penn Manor last week, 46-43. Hempfield was in sole possession going into that game. Hempfield knocked them off. Spoiler. So now there's a tie between those three, Hempfield, Lebanon, and Township. Thursday night, big one. Lebanon plays Hempfield at Lebanon. I'm going to go to that and check
Okay.
it out. So there will be a facelift in Section 1. One of them is going to lose on Thursday night, but that's a fun race when the big schools and the 6As are all battling it out. Very, very fun race, and something tells me something weird's going to happen there. Somebody's going to get upset again. They all have to play each other again.
Yeah, those teams are capable of beating each other.
And I would say at this point, keep an eye on Lebanon. They are the defending champs. They probably have the most 5-kid talent on the floor right now. And
Best
don't
starting
forget,
5, I would say,
and then
probably, yeah.
they have that cool non-league game Saturday against Ephrata, which will be a really fun game over at Ephrata. So, good times in Section 1.
Good times. That's what we
times.
need. Good
Yes.
times. More of them. All right, that's it, gang. Now next week we will preview, as I mentioned, that LL Mid-Penn Conference Challenge at Manheim on Saturday. There's 5 games on the boys' side, and I think maybe we could start taking a look at districts in that context.
That's starting to come together.
A little bit. And we don't need to go nuts with it, but maybe look at the District 3 power rankings and where our teams stand. Other than that, more hoops. These guys are going to be where?
I am at Ephrata Friday night for the Warwick game.
Lebanon Hempfield on Thursday, Catholic Columbia on Friday.
This has been the LL Basketball Roundtable, brought to you by Student Transportation of America. For Jason, for Jeff, for Mike, we'll see you later.